Hello everybody, my name is Peter Wiggin and welcome back to my channel today this afternoon. I want to give myself a little informal introduction. This is my first actual commentary video. My name's Peter Wiggin. I'm a college student. I like reading on Twitter. I like co-posting on X. So follow me there at Peter and Wiggin on the Everything app if you want to hear updates from me, things going on, or if you just want to see reposts or little opinions over the goings on in the world. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about something that has been lighting the internet on fire, especially the internet in the X space. And this is being spearheaded by none other than Laura Loomer. Now, if you didn't know who Laura Loomer was before this video, I'll give you a short little introduction. And I don't like giving people introductions because I don't feel like I have a very holistic view of their whole life, their person as a whole. And so I'm a very biased individual, a very opinionated individual. So take this introduction with a grain of salt, but if you want to learn more about Laura Loomer, look at her profile on X. In her biography, it says that she is a, I believe, feisty Jewess, so take that as you will. And so some questions I wanted to be discussing today, at least thinking about or talking about, are Palestinians entering the U.S. illegally? Is there a current Islamic invasion of our country? How should the United States go about managing Palestinian refugees? And are we responsible in doing so at all? These are some questions that I may or may not have answers to, and today we will discuss them from the angle that Laura Loomer and Representative Randy Fine Senator Randy Fine, are bringing up today. So in this first tweet we have from Laura Loomer, it says, exclusive, despite the U.S. saying we are not accepting Palestinian refugees into the United States under the Trump administration, I have obtained video footage of Palestinians who claim to be refugees from Gaza coming into the United States via San Francisco and Houston, Texas this month. The Palestinians traveled from Gaza to the U.S. with the help of a group called Heal Palestine. How evil. How did Palestinians get visas under the Trump administration to get into the United States? Did State Department approve of this? How did they get out of Gaza? Is @Sec Rubio aware of this? Who from the State Department is assisting Heal Palestine? Why are any Islamic invaders coming into the U.S. under the Trump admin? Who approved the visas? How many more are being given visas to come into the U.S., and why are Gavin Newsom and Greg Abbott harboring Palestinian refugees in California and Texas? This is a national security threat. We didn't vote for more Islamic immigration into the United States. Who signed off on these visas? They should be fired. Wow, what a scathing bombshell. What a whistle being blown. Here we have Laura Loomer saying there are Palestinian refugees coming into the U.S. without supposedly the Trump administration knowing. And if the Trump administration does know about it, why are they doing it? Why are Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, and Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, harboring these refugees, in quotation marks, in California and Texas, respectively? So I have this video, actually, she shared to her page. We can watch it now. So as we see in this video, it's a group of a couple Palestinian children and their supposed parents, we can assume such, coming in with a bunch of suitcases into, I think this is the San Francisco airport. So Laura Loomer's tweet was followed with the second one saying, I do not care how many enemies I make. I do not care how many people threaten to murder me. I'm getting tons of threats from Muslims today saying they want to come kill me for blowing the whistle on Gazans, in all caps, being imported into the U.S. I am proud to stand for the truth and with moral clarity, again, in full capitalization. Proud to stand against the Islamification of the United States. Proud to use my voice to fight for Western civilization, even if that means I have to deal with violent Islamists, all caps, on a daily basis who want to murder all of their opposition so they can implement their caliphate and destroy our country. What prose. What rhetoric, Laura Loomer. America is full. We all need to unite in standing up against the depraved and evil Sharia supremacists who seek to topple our country and our culture. That's some good alliteration there, too. She's been using her rhetorical devices. We can never let evil win. And as you can see, this tweet has about 71,000 likes, about 1 million views, and 5.5 thousand comments. So let's break this down. What does she mean when she says, I am proud to stand for the truth and with moral clarity, again in all capitalization? What clarity is there in this situation, may I ask? Are Palestinians being funneled into our country through secret routes unbeknownst to high officials? Those secret routes being airplanes going directly from Qatar to the United States, as some people have insinuated. Is there a secret cabal of people in our embassies and State Department issuing visas under the table for displaced Palestinians? One might think that after reading Laura Loomer's tweets. That's what her explanation of the system appears to be insinuating or implying. So let's break this down. First off, I want to say you could consider me on the right wing of politics. I voted for Trump this past year. And when I voted for Trump, I voted for a memorandum on all immigration, a halt to all immigration, illegal and illegal. Now, is that a reasonable ask? One may argue no. But nevertheless, I like to have the door-in-the-face approach. I like to give a big ask, and maybe we'll get some scraps along the way. So, we should ask the question, why are Muslims fleeing to the United States in the first place? Is it because they, in a hive mind, have agreed to plant their ideology among the American populace and strip the country of its founding beliefs? Do they want to alter the history of our nation and its people to fit their agenda? Do they want to cause a demographic shift in our nation, leaving it unrecognizable from the nation we were born in? This is happening. I agree this is happening. No matter what angle you look at it, the country is changing very drastically. And not just our nation, but the nations across Europe as well. But it's not in the way that Laura Loomer is describing, at least not in the United States of America currently. Could it be because their countries have been ripped apart that so many of these Muslims are being displaced and wanting to come to our country? Is it because they just hate Westerners and they want to come to our country to kill us all, kill the populace, and enact their caliphate and institute Sharia law among the people here? Is that the reason why they want to come over here? Or is it because war has ravaged their countries and their people? I like her final phrase saying, proud to use my voice to fight for Western civilization, again, in all capitalization like Greg Heffley does. Anyway, is this the plight of a genocidal state in the Middle East that she's talking about? Is she in support of? Because that's what it seems to be, and it has seemed to be over the course of the past couple months as she's defended the actions of Israel. Is defending this state conducive for the cause of Western civilization? I would argue that it is, in fact, diametrically opposed to such. I would say that Laura Loomer saying she is proud to have her voice fighting for Western civilization is a complete falsehood, because as she can support and tout the regime in the Middle East that is displacing all of these Muslims and causing them to go into countries all across Europe and in somewhat the United States, I'd say that she's actually diametrically opposed to the cause of Western civilization. So anyway, we'll go into some of the comments. I love clicking on the comments on some of these posts. Anyway, we have Eric Daney saying, I am with you, 100%. MG Trennan, who's got the American flag and the Canadian flag, a good Canadian, I love that too, saying, and this is why I follow you. I hope you carry at all times. Steve McClellan says, so true. AA says, you are an inspiration. Thank you for your amazing work on behalf of all us. Neuro Rajas says, they will attack with a woman, probably. That's a brave prediction. And Mark Anderson says, come on down to South Georgia. We'll protect you. They will, actually. And so after all of this went down, Laura Loomer, as you can see, the date is still August 16th when this tweet went up. It was a couple hours after she initially posted her first tweet, but she says, here is an example of an email I got tonight after I blew the whistle on Gazans supported by a Palestinian NGO who are being imported into the U.S. with visas from the State Department. The Palestinian movement is a violent movement. These people are now threatening to murder me. As you see, this important email from an external source states, by Jeremiah Ben, says, we are tracking you. We will be putting a bullet in your head. You will not live until Monday. Weak ow, where you are at all times. Now it is indeed Monday. It's 3:23 p.m. Mountain Date Time at the time of this recording, and Laura Loomer still seems to be alive. And so my first question is, are we really taking anonymous death threats seriously now? How long has Laura Loomer been on the internet? She has over 90,000 tweets. I am sure she's used to getting a couple death threats here and there. And now, as I'm saying this, death threats can and probably should be investigated. I have no problem with that. What if there is somebody on the other side of this that is a radical Muslim, that is part of a sleeper cell, that is radicalized against our country and its beliefs? That I have no problem with finding that and rooting it out at its source. But two things can be true at once. The two things that can be true at once are she is receiving death threats But she's also using the situation to build rapport around herself and against the faceless radical Islamists and the violent Gazans. The Palestinian movement is a violent movement, she says. And so when you read tweets from Laura Loomer, they're very sensational. She's a sensational individual, as you've probably seen, if you know her at all, over the course of the past couple months alone. What she does is she finds a fiery topic, she latches on, she's very loud about it, she posts these paragraph after paragraph messages incessant with capitalizations, tagging people, being inflammatory, playing the victim, saying that she's receiving death threats. And in the end, usually it's a nothing burger. Usually there's not much behind it. But now she seems pretty proud of herself that she was able to blow the whistle on this Palestinian invasion. And before we dive into what this Palestinian invasion actually is, I want to read some tweets from our friend, none other than Congressman Randy Fine. He is a representative. Why did I think he was the senator of Florida? I'm so freaking out of the loop here. I'm from Texas. Right now, I live in a different state in the western side of the United States, not California. I'm not willing to dox myself quite yet. Give me a couple months and like 10,000 followers and I can drop where I live. I'll drop my address. You can send me like a cake or a mango or something like that. But our friend Congressman Randy Fine, he says, no Gazans should be entering the United States, period. 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 And this tweet has 66,000 likes. It has about 5 million views with 7.1 thousand comments. Now, Congressman Randy Fine, he's one of my favorite people. And that's not because I like him. In fact, it's for the opposite reason. It's because I think he's a caricature. I think he's a caricature of some of the greatest slop of human capital you can find in this country. He is essentially a robber baron caricature from the Gilded Age political cartoons that were put out at the end of the 19th century. I'll see if I can find one and put it on screen, but he's a big man. And what he is pro-Israel through and through. And usually, I mean, according to the ADO website, if you say that somebody has dual citizenship, that is an anti-Semitic trope, that's blood libel, and you shouldn't be saying that. I could probably still get my citizenship revoked and probably get sent to the CCOT or whatever that prison in El Salvador is for saying that Randy Fine has dual citizenship, but I actually don't believe that he has dual loyalty to Israel and America. In fact, I think he has a singular loyalty, and that is to his home state of Israel. I think that everything that he does, the whole reason for him being in Congress at the moment is to push forward the Israeli regime's talking points, is to laud Israel, is to support Israel's every move, every action, every step forward. And just to kind of stand as a piece of evidence for what I'm saying, this is a tweet that has gone, you'll find this in any comment section under one of Randy Fine's tweets, but it's for a good reason. It's one of the strangest tweets I've ever seen, especially coming from a sitting United States member of Congress. And it's Randy Fine saying and this is just a year ago, actually, less than a year ago. This is from September 27th, 2024. He says, there is a reason the first time I shook at Netanyahu's hand, I did not wash it until I could touch the heads of my children. Now, isn't that interesting? The first thing I would like to say is he intentionally added Netanyahu and added the apostrophe S after the Netanyahu tag. And now you might just say, oh, he's, it's kind of like a polite thing to do when you're on Twitter. If you mention someone's name, you actually tag them and message them. But I would like to say he did this purely for the clout, for the signaling of virtue, telling Netanyahu that I am indeed on your side. I'm in this for the long game. I'm here for Israel. So anyway, sorry, that's a little tangent. What's actually going on? What is this Heal Palestine that Laura Loomer's talking about? Is it actually a regime meant to invade the United States and institute a caliphate among its people? So actually, this NGO has a website, and they explain all that they're doing. It's called healpalestine.org. You can go to the site. I'll have little pictures of all the tweets right here as I read through it. But the headline of this tweet is Historic Evacuation, 11 Injured Children from Gaza Begin Their Journey to Healing in the U.S. And here we have a cute little picture of, as you can assume, the 11 children as well as some of the family members that we'll learn about a bit more as we go down this article. In this article, it pretty much is a little timeline talking about the updates regarding these people, talking about what's happened to them, where they're going, and as we can see, if we start at the bottom of this, but it says on July 30th, 2025, with coordination from the World Health Organization, so an international organization, 11 severely injured Palestinian children and 26 accompanying family members, so 37 people in all, successfully crossed from Gaza into Jordan. Many of the children suffer from critical injuries such as amputation, severe burns, and trauma-related complications, conditions that Gaza's collapsed healthcare system can no longer treat. They are now beginning their next phase of their recovery under Heal Palestine's Global Healing Program, part of our health pillar. And there's another picture of the group right there. And so first off, they successfully crossed from Gaza into Jordan July 30th, 2025, a couple weeks ago. I thought that people were allowed to leave Gaza whenever. I thought that was part of the deal that Benjamin Netanyahu talked about. I thought the Gazans weren't in an open-air prison. Anyway, I guess I was mistaken, but anyway, the second update right here, it's on July 31st, 2025, says, in a powerful moment of humanity and international cooperation, Heal Palestine has launched the largest single medical evacuation of injured children from Gaza to the United States, offering a lifetime of healing and hope amidst unprecedented devastation. And the final update, it was on August 3rd, 2025, and I thought the videos were coming out August 6th, 2025, according to Laura Loomer's tweets and subsequent posts, but I guess they might have been uploaded a bit later. But it says, following their departure from Amman, all 11 children and their family members have now arrived across cities in the United States, where they were warmly received by local communities. And I wouldn't necessarily say they were warmly received at this point. But if you go further to the bottom right here, you can see actually all of the dates in which these people were arriving. You can say which individuals among these 11 children arrived at which place, whether it be Boston, Massachusetts, Atlanta, Georgia, or Dallas, Texas. And it's very clear on what's going on there. These people, these refugees, they had received injuries in Gaza and Palestine at the time, and they were able to cross into Jordan, receive help from the World Health Organization, somehow get visas processed into the United States, and 37 people were able to make it across the border, across the United States into, 6 different cities? So anyway, what do you think of this? These are 11 children that were in severe conditions that were led into the United States. Is this acceptable? Would you accept Palestinian refugees into our country, even if, you had to receive a couple immigrants? Like I said, I'm against immigration myself, but what are your thoughts on this? Some may argue that it's a slippery slope. Some may say that, it's good to help people that are on their last breath, especially if they're children, and we have the medical capabilities in this country to do such. Other people may say our hospitals are already being overrun by illegal immigration from the South. People crossing the border under the Biden administration we don't know the exact numbers, but there are estimates around 20 million people, 30 million people. I've even heard some people say 40 million people, although that may be inflating it such. But the point is, we don't know. We do not know. And so is it a slippery slope? Is it a stretch to say that if we let, even 37 people into our country now, that we're opening up the floodgates for future immigration, future visas to be processed for Palestinians that are seeking asylum, seeking refugee status in our country? Are we just going to be overrun by another wave of people that don't necessarily share our values? Although I don't believe that there is an Islamic invasion. I don't think they're going to be here to institute a caliphate. Like I said, Muslims inhabit about 1.1% of our current United States population. But just because I'm railing against the framing of Randy Fine and Laura Loomer doesn't mean I reject their conclusions outright. It just means I reject the framing. Personally, I don't know. This is one of the toughest questions that's facing the international community at the moment. What is to be done about the refugee situation in Gaza? As of April 2025, 92% of residential structures in Gaza have been destroyed. I was doing some research on this earlier to make sure I was getting accurate statistics, but there's actually a term for this. It's called herbicide. Not herbicide for weeds and plants, but herbicide, like urban. 57% of croplands and over 70% of Gaza's fishing fleet have been destroyed. It's been a systematic destruction of the Gaza Strip and of the buildings inside, the buildings within the borders of that geographical location. And as people like Benjamin Netanyahu say, and we've all seen the clips probably if you're updated on the situation to any extent, but they said that, it's because Hamas was hiding in these structures. They set booby traps in all of these structures, so whenever IDF soldiers would go to try to sneak in or try to monitor the situation and inspect what was going on in the ground level in a lot of these Palestinian domiciles, they would blow up. And so the IDF soldiers had to dismantle all of these structures and blow them up before they were killed by these booby traps set by the Palestinians. Now I guess Hamas made it to 92% of the residential structures in Gaza, or Benjamin Netanyahu was lying. One of the two is true. But anyway, what I'm saying is, This population is almost completely displaced. What does it look like on the ground? We've all seen the pictures. The entire Gaza Strip is rubble. There's nowhere for these people to go except out of their country, out of the borders. And that's what Israel had planned the whole time. There is a lot, and I can link stuff in the description if any of you want some of the sources. There is a lot of evidence to back up the fact that this was the plan from the beginning, from October 7th and maybe even before, to displace the Palestinian people and to institute Israel's hegemony over the area in a actual on paper sense, although they had control of the area before. And so with a population of 2.1 million people and continuing embargoes and sanctions and famine, the situation is unsustainable. So, what to do? What to do with these 2.1 million people? One could say, oh, let's just let them all into the United States as refugees. Since America has backed Israel in this systematic genocide and ethnic cleansing of this people, we should maintain responsibility for the subject. Now, I don't agree with that. I think an immigration of 2.1 million people is untenable. And with our current immigration catastrophe that we are facing, although border crossings have decreased and almost gone to zero under Trump, we're still dealing with the effects of the mass immigration under the Biden administration. But even then, if we did, hypothetically, have these 2.1 million people immigrate to our country, that's still only 10% of the number of people admitted into the country under the Biden administration. So I don't know what the answer is. Let me know what you think. I don't think that we should have unchecked immigration into our countries, but also the policies that have led to the destruction of the Gaza Strip and the systematic expulsion of people, we're backed by our country and our resources and our money and our politicians. And so what's to be done? Where do these people go? Is there going to be any accountability for Israel in this tragedy, this genocide, this humanitarian crisis that is currently being faced? Anyway, it's a complex situation, and with any complex situation, there are no singular answers. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Let me know if I'm completely off on any of this. Let me know if you agree with Randy Fine. Let me know if you weigh less than Randy Fine. I would love to know. Just kidding, I wouldn't, because that would be the entire comment section. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed my commentary, leave a like, subscribe, and share this video to the people you know. This is a situation that should get out to the populace. You know, this is something that we should all be grappling with as voters, although how much we're able to actually influence it is into question. But how should we be dealing with immigration into our country? How should we be dealing with refugees around the world? Let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.